Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Wednesday and we're going to be doing a review today of a new set of pencils that I had come into the corner. These are 120 colored pencils. I have heard through the grapevine, through other YouTube artists, as well as the reviews on these colored pencils, that they are possibly a dupe of Faber Castell's Polychromos. And we all know what we think about dupes. However, I am really blurry. Hold on a sec, let me fix that. I did not realize how blurry it was. Just gonna, yeah, that's what I thought. My autofocus was on. And autofocus does not like moving around with people doing stuff. Alright, that's better. Okay, that's better. No, it's not looking so blurry. All right, so these are 120 colored pencils. They are not named, however, they are numbered. They are from a company in China. The company information is here. It's a Zhejiang Quili Stationery Company. I do have a set of pencils called Quili from the same company, and they're not too bad. They're definitely a student grade pencil. These, however, really surprised me. So because they were laid out on the back here, the same basic layout as the Faber Castells are, I took my Faber Castell chart and I duplicated it. And then I went through and I colored number for number on this chart the colored pencils here. Now, every single one was a match except for 155 and 149. They seem to have been swapped, and the copper seems to be missing the copper core. It's got the gold core. Now, this may be something specific to this run of pencils that I got because the barrel for these pencils looks like it should be for the opposite pencil. So I have put them in order here, and as you can probably see, the difference or lack of differences between the Quili, the Zhejiang Quili Stationery Company polys, and the Polychromos. Now I did put more pressure on the Polychromos than I did here. The one thing that I will say I feel is different in laying them down is these seem to be a little bit softer than the Polychromos. That is probably because it's a different wax mixture as well as a different pigment mixture. But they have pretty much nailed the color lineup as well as the colors themselves to what the Polychromos are. Now, will I say that they are a complete duplicate for the Polychromos? They are a little less, like they do have a little bit of difference in colors. For example, this one here is terracotta, and the terracotta on the Faber-Castell side is a little bit darker, has a little bit more of a brown color compared to the terracotta on the Zhejiang, whatever, the Zhejiang Quili Stationery Company's pencils are a little bit oranger. This one here, it's a little bit darker than the Zhejiang, but the colors are almost dead on. Now, the great thing about that is Faber-Castells are between $160 to $250 depending upon if you get them on sale, which buyer you buy them from, and so forth. The Zhejiang Quili are 53, I think I paid $53.98 for them. So much cheaper. They are a good replacement for the Faber-Castell. So if you have Faber-Castells and you're running low on a color, you can pull a color from this set and fill in until you get that replacement. But if you can't afford the Faber-Castells, I would say that if you're following somebody with Faber-Castells and you have this set, you will be able to follow along color for color, number for number. The names on the chart are not names on the pencils. These are the Faber-Castell names, but the numbers match up to each of those names as well as the colors. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of testing. First, I'll go through and show you the pencils themselves, and then we've got our test chart on the back there. So you get a sleeve that covers the box. There's a lot of sleeves in this, I must say. Then you have a box, and this box very much resembles the Artex box. However, the pencils are more secure in this box. They're in these sleeves, which keeps them from wobbling around. So if you only want something out of this sleeve, you don't have the pencils wobbling back and forth to get to where you want to be. Now, I did have a couple of break, so Amazon, as we all know, does not do packaging or shipping very nicely. These were sent to me in the US Postal Service in a envelope. That's all they were in, is just one of those bubble envelopes. So there was a couple of that did have some breakage. Now, when the core broke out, um, they were they did show that they were glued into the barrels. It's just the amount of breakage was not fun. And my sharpener decided to eat them, which was also not fun. So, I did have 3 or 4 of them that did break, but you have a little envelope. Now you can bend this envelope backwards. There's a little bend here as well, so that you can put them up on your desk, like so. Like so, basically. And the bend comes up so that you can tuck it into the front. So it makes getting the pencils out quite easily. I use my pencil holder, which works great, so I don't worry about the bendy boxy thing. However, it will work in a pinch if you don't want to take them out of the box and put them into the into your case or whatever. Now we're going to look at the pencils themselves. And I'm going to pull from this side. I have put these in my number and color order, so they are in chart order now compared to where they were when I got them in. So when I got them in, they were in the same lineup you would see in the Faber-Castells. I'm going to pull this red one because it's easier to see. So as you can see, it's got the same band, the same numbering. However, it says artists color pencils, and the color is spelled in the European way, and then high quality. They do say they are light fast, but there is no light fast rating on them, and I wouldn't guarantee that. And on this side it says smooth painting, bright colors. Now this side is spelt the US way. However, this side is spelt the European way. It's very interesting. You would think. But there is no name on the pencil. However, like I said, the numbers do match up to the Faber-Castell numbers, so you can pretty much match up the color names with them because they do match up with the color as well. All right, we're going to grab a couple of different pencils out of here and do our testing, and we'll verify whether or not they're water resistant, whether or not they're smudge resistant, that sort of thing, and whether or not they blend well together. So we're going to grab light chrome yellow, which should be this one. So which is number 10, nope, that's 107. So it's this one, 106. So we're going to grab number 106 and we're going to grab uh, deep red, which I think is in the other, let's check, I think that's rose carmine. I think this is 121, yeah. So I have to go to the next box. So each box carries a small amount of the set, so approximately a fifth, of course, because there's 5 little boxes. So we've got our reds here. Now we want, let's say, 223, which should be this one here. The only thing I don't like is that you can't see the number until you pull it out of the box. Now you could of course put it in the other way so you can see the numbers, but with the way that they have them in the first place, you can't see the numbers without, opening the box. All right, and then our blue, we're going to grab Fifth Phthalo blue, which is 110, which should be right about here. Maybe this one. Yep. I've gotten pretty good at that. All right, so we've got our colors here. I'm going to move these to the side so I don't knock them off my desk. And on the back of this chart, I have created a test chart. These charts are all available on my coffee shop. This part of the chart is actually free on the coffee shop. So if you choose to, oh, my camera is all wonky. If you choose to use the swatch testing sheet, that is something that you can purchase free. What you do is you just print it on the back side of your chart, and that gives you all of that information in your chart, and you don't have to go searching for it or test other places and that sort of thing. All right, zoom you in. And then we're going to do our water test. Of course, we're going to do the water test to verify whether or not they are water resistant. We don't worry too much about waterproof because not very many pencils are waterproof. There are some that are a little bit more resistant than others, but there are very few that are completely waterproof. So I don't look for waterproof. I just look for whether or not they're water resistant, whether or not I need to have a binder, whether it's a blender that has that water resistance that I require to go over top of it, or if I'm going to put a non-water product on top, such as an acrylic. If I'm going to use water, such as stickles and that sort of thing, I will blend it with the Caran d'Ache blender before I do that because the Caran d'Ache blender does give a really good seal over top of the color. And as you can see, they lay down pretty much the same way that the Faber Castells do. You can layer them or you can just squish them into the page. I prefer to layer them, but that's just me. They have a really good quality of pigment. They're nice and saturated, which is great. And like I said, you can either, push into the page or you can just layer them up and still get a good amount of color down. The great thing about these, like I said, is that they do have all of the attributes and all of the color variety as well as, within a 99.9 percentile range of the same color as the Faber Castells. So again, if you're watching somebody coloring with Faber Castells but can't afford, the Faber Castell brand, these are a good option to bridge that gap where you can still color along but don't have to buy something you can't afford. I like the fact that they are the same numbers and the same colors. So it makes going through and coloring along so much easier. A lot of other sets will have the same colors as the Faber Castells as any others, but you have to match them up. You have to do a chart that is going to match this color to this color and this color to this color. With these, like I said, they are the same numbers as the Faber Castells. So anything that is matched up to the Faber Castells, you can easily match up to this. So if you find a chart that has prismas matched up to the Faber Castells, you can use that chart to follow along with a Prismacolor, a person coloring with Prismacolor, um, the same way that you could if you were using Faber Castells, which is really kind of cool. It bridges that gap that I know that when I first started coloring was a huge gap for me because I was watching all these people using Prismas and using Faber Castells, and the ones that I had, there was no there it was difficult to match up the colors to make sure I was getting the colors correct. The second test that I'm filling in here is the smudge test. Now the smudge test is very specific to each individual. Some people will smudge pencils under their hands, some people won't. I am one that will smudge pencils under my hand. So I do the smudge test to make sure that I'm not going to move all that pencil pigment across the page with my hand as I'm coloring other areas, because sometimes it can ruin the page. I have ruined a few pages that way, but that's why I do this test. You don't have to do these tests. These tests are not a mandatory thing. It's just something I do to know the pencils a little bit better. It's just like the pictures on the front of my charts. They are there so that I can get to know those pencils a little bit better, how they lay down, how they blend, and that sort of thing. I'm just going to saturate this about the same saturation as this one over here, so that it gives a normal testing. That's about where I would take it if I was coloring on a coloring page. All right, so I got my water brush here. As you can see, it's got water in it. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. And the yellow moves a little bit, quite a bit actually. If the yellow is going to move, then I'm going to guarantee that the red and the blue is going to move too. Most times if yellow moves, the rest of it will move as well. So definitely not water resistant, but I will say that the Faber Castell is a little more water resistant than that. All right, going to move the pigment with my finger. Definitely going to smudge that if I'm not careful with my hands. All right, so we know that they are not water resistant. As you can see here, I was able to move them a lot. So that would be something that I would blend and coat before I started using stickles or Wink Estella, things like that. Now we're going to take, where is it? Let's do this one. We're going to take our pinks here. So we're going to use 123, 128, and 129. 129 is the lightest, and 123 is the darkest, which is fuchsia. So we're going to start with our dark here on the edge, on the back side. Building that color up. Now, all of the information that I have found on these pencils does not state whether they are a wax-based or an oil-based pencil. So I do not know. From feeling it and from laying down color with them, I would say that they are an oil base with a softer white wax mixture. So they have more oil in it than wax, but the wax that they do have in it is softer than most other pencils from the lesser price range, if that makes sense. Almost like a mixture between a Faber Castell and a Holbein kind of feel. Like I said, Faber Castells are a little bit harder than this, but they have the same layerability, blendability, and close to the same colors. So the next one I'm going to use is 128, which is a light purple pink. Blending into the edge of that darker area. And bringing it out. I think I should have made my circle here a little bit smaller. But this gives you a fairly good indication of what to expect between the colors. The colors are very blendable. I am getting a really good blend where I'm eliminating that hard line between the medium and the dark color. Now I'm going to come in here just a little bit. And then we're going to come in with the 129, which is Pink Madder Lake. Again, going into that middle color and blending it into the lighter color. So they definitely blend really nicely. I'm actually quite impressed with with not only the fact that they are really, really very close to the Fabers, but with the smoothness of the pencils. Sometimes with a lesser expensive pencil, you will find that the darker colors have a tendency to be a little dry. And when I was doing the swatch chart, and I know I don't have the swatch chart available because I was overexcited and hit record and it didn't record and I didn't check while I was recording and yeah, all the things. So Unfortunately, I don't have the swatch chart or just swatch test for you, but as I showed you before, the pencils are definitely a very good duplication of the Faber Castell colors. Now, are they exactly like the Faber Castells? No. Are they a very close match to the coloration of the Faber Castells? Absolutely. You could definitely intermix them and be lost on which one you have grabbed. The only difference that you will notice is that they are a little bit softer than the Faber Castells. So there's our blend. As we can see, we've got our dark, medium, and light. Now the medium and dark are really close together in color, but they did blend so well that you can't see that blend line. Same with where we blended that light color into the darker color. You don't see that blend line. You just see that it's starting to move into a lighter area, which is what we want to see. Now for a rainbow blend, we're going to start with our red, and then we're going to go into our yellow and create orange, from yellow into the blue to create green. Now, if you put down the red first, you're going to have more of a red-orange. If you put down the yellow first, you're going to have more of a yellow-orange. So there's our red. They are picking up the color from the other pencil laydown, so be careful of that with your lighter colors, that you may find that you have a color pickup on your pencil. So if you do find that you've picked up some of the color, just make sure you wipe off your pencil before continuing on, so that you're not dragging that color around with you. And then the blue into the yellow. So it definitely is giving a instant change from blue to green when over top of the yellow. And I'm going to add a little more yellow to make that a yellow-green. Like so. Definitely is a green. Now we're going to do the same thing over here with the red. We're going to add some more yellow, creating that yellow-orange. Like so. Now we can also take our red and come over into the yellow, giving more of that yellow-orange. We've got our red-orange color into the red, and if we come over into the yellow, we're going to get that yellow-orange color. Like so. So definitely does do the rainbow. We can create different colors using the different colored pencils of our primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. Now to test the blender, we're going to take our red, and we're going to start with that. And I'm going to put down a fairly large swatch area in not a heavy coloring, a fairly medium coverage. Now you do have to make sure there's enough pigment on the page for the blender to actually move the pigment instead of just scraping it up and brushing it off. All right, so there's our red, and then we're going to go in with number 123, which is fuchsia. Again, putting down enough pigment that the blender has the availability and opportunity to actually blend those colors together. And put down a little bit more red. And then we're going to grab the lightest color, which is the Pink Madder Lake. Again, covering the area, making sure I have enough pigment for that blender to move around. Okay. Now we're going to use our Caran d'Ache blender on the bottom here. We're going to start from our lightest to our darkest. And it definitely blends with that Caran d'Ache blender very nicely. We have an elimination of white spot. We also have a progression of dark to light with the blending of the edges of the pencil. We've also got a little bit of lift up there, right here. So let's blend that in. Like so. Alright, now we're going to take our Derwent blender, if I can find it, because it's a really mini one. Where did I put it? I just had it like 2 minutes ago. There it is. I prefer the Derwent blender on oil-based products. I do find that it blends a little bit more seamless. However, it does not have the same capabilities of water protection than the Caran d'Ache does. But it too has done quite nicely in blending. I am getting a bit more lift off. What I mean by lift off is it's lifting up some of that pigment off the page. So I'm getting a little bit more lift off from the Derwent blender than the Caran d'Ache. Both do quite nicely. Both have given us that seamless blend all the way across. Now we're going to do the same thing with white that we just did with the blenders. The only thing with blending with white is if your white is very opaque, it will severely change the color of the pencils that you have laid down. It will mute them out quite a bit. So if you do not want that to happen, please remember to use a colorless blender or test your white colored pencil on a black background and see how opaque that is, how white that is going to be. If it's not really, really white or it has a clear tendency to it, like if you put it down and you can see more black through it than white, then more than likely it's very translucent and it's going to blend quite nicely without any visual repercussions of it. But if it's really opaque, it's going to change that color, lightening the color. It does give you that protection and that blend. However, you will find that it will lessen the color a little bit. All right, now we're going to grab our white, which is number 101. Dust that off. Now with white, We start in our lightest area and go in the opposite direction. And as you can see, it is blending it, but it is lessening that color. So it is making those colors lighter as it's blending them together. Now we're going to go into the white and or into the red, and you're really going to see it. So as you can see, it definitely dampens down that red a little bit. It is quite a translucent white. I'll show you on the other side. So it's not going to dampen it down the same amount as say using a Prisma white, where it's quite opaque. All right, put these ones back in here. And I will at some point get a proper case for these so that I don't continue to have to use a the little envelopes. As cute as they are, they're a bit of a pain in the butt. All right. So I need my pen. So failed the water resistance test as well as the smudge test. Passed all of the blending tests. So what I would suggest is coat first. So if what I mean by that is use your Caran d'Ache blender to give you that coating on the colored pencil of that clear wax, which will keep it from moving with the water-based products. Smudgeability means that I'm going to either have to blend first or I'm going to have to wear my glove. All right, so the cost per pencil. So I purchased these for 53 cents. No, 53, not 53 cents. That would be immaculately hilarious, but I would have bought a whole lot more than just one at that price. Um, let's just take a look here. 53.16. It was the purchase price for 120 equals mathing. I don't like mathing. So let's cheat and use our calculator. So 53.19 divided by 120. Oh, for crying out loud. Hate it when my mouse decides it's not going to work. So it works out to be about 44 cents a pencil. And in comparison to the Faber Castells, which, like I said, these are a close resemblance to, including color name, color, like the name, not the number, not the name, the color number, not the name, as the Faber Castells. So if we look at the Faber Castells, the price for a set of Faber Castells ranges from, I think they're on sale right now for 152 or 159. I think it was 159. So 100, let's say $160 they're on sale for. So 160 divided by 120, which works out to $1.30 compared to 160 Faber Castell equals $1.33 a pencil. So for 44 cents a pencil, you have something that you can easily use to follow along on a picture that you're watching that has the host using a Faber Castell pencil. You still get the blendability of a Faber Castell pencil as well as the color saturation. So I'm going to grab the blue and the yellow out of the Faber Castells. So the same name or same numbers, same colors from the Faber Castells. And then we have number 106. So there's 106. And then we have the blue, which is number 110, which should be this one here. So there are our colors between the Faber Castells and the others. I'm going to grab the red as well. What red were we using? This one. Like I said, this box is a bit of a pain in the butt. Don't like it. The red that we want to use is 233. Yes, or 223. Yeah, 223. 223 is what we were using. And I didn't put my Fabers back in order. Oh dear. I'm naughty. I didn't put my Fabers back in order. I must have pulled a red out for some reason. And this case is not fun to work with. 219, 223. There it is. All right. So those are our reds, blues, and yellows that we used it number for number of the non-Faber Castell. Now, if you look at them, let's look at them this way. They are a slight difference in color on the barrel for some of them, but for the most part, they're pretty much the same. The Faber Castell does seem to have a little bit of a lighter color in the red, a little bit lighter in the yellow, and a little bit darker in the blue. So now we're going to just take these and we're going to actually do a side by side. So this is the red. So this is Faber, and this is Zing, whatever. So we'll put the Z there. All right, so we'll put the Faber Castell down here. And we're going to bring it halfway in. I'm going to make sure that I get a good layer. Now these are feeling a little bit stickier. They're not they're not squishy at all, if that makes sense. That you can't, it doesn't feel like I can put a heavy pressure on it and get to that result. Now I'm coming right up against it. And I think this is the one that I tested on that paper there. And as you can see, the Faber Castell is a little bit more red, a deeper red than the Zazing. But other than having a lesser quality pigment, they can be utilized and you will get approximately the same coloration from using those pencils. Now the yellows match up quite nice. So this is the Faber Castell. And this is the Zazing, or whatever it's called. Now this one is a softer lead, so I'm putting a little tiny bit more pressure on it and getting a much deeper color. If I go back over the Faber Castell, I'm going to get a close to the same color, but it is, like I said, a harder lead, so it's going to require more layers than this one here. But you can pretty much get identical color across the board. And the blue, I'm going to do the same thing. This is the Faber. I'm going to get full color saturation here. And then this is the imitation. Come out this way just a touch more. Give it an equal area. And as you can see with the blue, it's almost identical. So we'll go in a little bit closer so that we can see any nuances of differences, because there is a slight difference, there's slight variations in the pigmentation. So I'm just going to move you in. Oh, wrong way, this way, so that you can see any differences. So it's not a huge amount of difference. The difference between this one here and this one here is just a slight bit of a brighter red than the Faber Castell. The Faber Castell does seem to have more of a muted red color. Same with the yellow. The yellow on this side is a little bit brighter than the yellow on this side. And if I laid down more layers on this one, I could probably get to this saturation just as easily. This saturation is, or this colored pencil is a softer wax than the Faber Castell. So when using them, you're not going to have to layer as many layers, especially if you're heavy-handed, because you're going to get that saturation in the first or second pass of that color if you're heavy-handed, because you're going to be pressing that harder into your page. The blue is identical. The deepest part of this blue is the same as the deepest part of that blue. So easily replaceable in both sets. So the color selection I feel is really good. Let's zoom you back out and we'll finish up the questionnaire on the testing here. All right. So we've got our color cost per pencil. 44 cents a pencil is definitely an A plus. I don't know why I'm using this pen for that. I can just use a yellow pencil or a gel pen. Let's use a gel pen. Yeah, we're going to use a green gel pen. So we're going to give 5 stars if we can get the gel pen to work. Come on. I'm telling you, these Arteza Super Sparkles seem to jam up quite a bit. So we're just going to grab one of these because we don't have enough gel pens around here. We've got a ton of them. Let's grab this one. All right, so we're going to grab a flare just because it's a little bit more likely to work. All right, so we're going to give it 5 stars on the cost. Now these are from China, and like I said, I cannot guarantee their light fast rating or anything like that. It's also not something that I am too concerned about. Being a colorist, my pages that I complete 9 times out of 10 get completed, photographed, and then put away. So I don't hang them on the wall and that sort of thing. So I'm not too concerned about light fast rating. And I am blurry again. What the heck is going on there? All right, color selection. Definitely going to give it a good 4 stars there. We have a good selection of color going from our yellows into our peach tones, our oranges, into our reds. The only place that it does lack in color for is the pinks, the same way that the Faber Castells do. Then we go into our red violets, our blues, into our blue greens and our green blues, into our greens, our red browns, yellow browns, and then our dark browns into our grays. So it does have a really good selection of color. Like I said, I'm actually only going to give it 4 stars because of the lack of the pink colors. I think that both Faber Castell and this set are lacking in that pink. And I like having some pinks. Yes, there's some pinky purples in there that could pass for those pinks, but they're not as many as other sets of the same number of pencils. So I am going to, well, I'll give it a half star because it's just one color family that it's. So I'll give it 4.5 stars for color selection. Color saturation, I think it does very well for that. So I think we're going to give it 5 stars for that because it does fill the white spot of the page very quickly, very easily, and it does have the same pigmentation, if not mostly the same pigmentation as the Faber Castells, and it does give you the ability to follow along on a Faber Castell page um, with the same numbers. So if you do buy these or do have these and you're following along somebody that's using Faber Castells, you will easily be able to follow along if you ask them to read out the number of the pencil. Now, the one place that they do suck at, of course, is open stock. They do not have any open stock at all. So I'm not even going to give them a star for that. I'm going to give them a minus star. If I can even draw a star. I can't even draw a star. This is terrible. So we're going to give them negative stars for that because they don't have the open stock capability. So this is a no. Yes. And yes. So all in all, I think it has done a really good job of comparing well to the Faber-Castells in color name and not color name, but color number and color matchup. They do blend very well in all different manners of the three color blend, the rainbow blend using the two different blenders, as well as the white to blend all of those colors together. And now I've turned my finger green by sticking my finger in the wet gel pen. They are not water resistant. Definitely would want to seal these in before using your water brushes, your Wink Stella, your stickles, anything that is water based. You're going to want to protect it before you start using that. Protect the color before you start using the water. My hands do move these pigments, so I will use my gloves or I will burnish before going over top of it with my hands. Cost per pencil is 44 cents a pencil. The cost for the full set is $53.16 on Amazon. You can buy these cheaper on Temu or on AliExpress, but they take a lot longer to get to you and they're maybe $1 or $2 cheaper. So on Amazon, they're 44 cents a pencil. Compared to what they are duplicating, which is the Faber-Castell, which is $160 on Amazon, which is $1.33 per pencil. They do have a great color selection. I did give them half a mark for the pinks because just like the Faber-Castells, they are lacking in that pink department. They do have great color saturation, but they are not open stock. So definitely want to keep that in mind as well. Faber-Castells are open stock and you can purchase them from many different sites as well as many different stores to replenish your stock. So all in all, I think that they are a very close resemblance or replication of the Faber-Castell Polychromos. Number for number, color for color, you are getting the same colors. The only two that I had some issue with, and I think it may just be on in the batch that my set has come from. I have 149, which in the Faber-Castells would be 155, and 155, which in the Faber-Castells is 149. So I think the cores of those pencils got switched and put into the wrong barrels. Same with the copper in my set is gold. So I do believe that the copper was switched or was not placed with the proper core. Yeah, that's the word. So that is my first impressions of these pencils. Like I said, I've only had them for a day. So I did the swatching, I did the comparing, and I did play with them a little bit on the swatch charts to verify whether or not they would blend and that sort of thing. And I did find that they do color very well. They do lay down very, very closely to the same as the Polychromos. They do have the same colors as well. I did use a lighter hand doing the swatch chart for the Queely than I did with the Faber Castells because I have used the Faber Castells quite a bit, so I know the pressure that I need for those. This is like the fifth swatch chart I've done for the Polychromos. This was the first time I'd ever used these, so in order to get the feel for them, I did a heavy area and a really light area. Now that I've used them a little bit and played with them a little bit more, I have a better feeling for what pressures I can put on them to get that color saturation that I want. So I think that quite honestly, I honestly believe that the number and color of every single one of these pencils will match up except for those two, which I think is a problem with the run that my set came from. I don't know. If it's not, it's two pencils that you can easily switch to understand. You know, if the person you're following is reading off the name, the chart that I have will give you the name as well as the proper number. So if they read off a name and a number and it's like 149 instead of 155, you know that those are switched. Yeah, so other than those two colors and the gold being a little being off, which is why I think it was a problem with the manufacturing at the time that my set was manufactured. Other than that, I think that they are pretty spot on with their color matchup for the Polychromos. Now, the feel of them is very different. The Polychromos are much harder and require quite a bit more layering than the Zhejiang Quili. Um, the color variation is slightly different. I think the Zhejiang Quili have a different wax composition than the Faber Castells um, because they do come from different regencies. The Faber Castell does come from Germany, where the Quili come from China. So that is a huge variation, a huge difference. The pigment saturation or the quality of pigments is slightly different as well. But if you're following somebody using Faber Castells and you don't have Faber Castells and can't really afford them, this is definitely a good set to replace those with until you can afford them. My first impressions and my review of these is going to be that they are a soft pencil that is well pigmented, does match color number to the Faber Castell's color selection, and can be used to replace those um, if you can't afford the original Polychromos or the actual Polychromos. These are definitely a duplication, but they are not a full duplication. So they're not using the same core, they're not using the same mixture. They are using the closest thing that they can achieve in their region compared to in Germany. Though I think that their layout and their setup and everything else is meant to duplicate the Polychromos. Um, but yeah, will I say that they would replace your Polychromos if you already have them? No. I would definitely say that you could use them to supplement your Polychromos if you don't have all of them, or if you have some like I do that are itty bitty that need to be replaced and you don't have time or money to get them replaced at the moment. They can definitely supplement with that, but I don't think they will replace a Polychromo. All right, guys, so that is my thoughts on the Zhejiang Quili Stationery Company. The box that they come in is a nice sturdy box, which is great. They come in little envelopes, which keeps them separated, as well as keeps them protected while they're in the box, which is also great. They do have on the back of their packaging a small swatch chart that shows you the colors. However, it does not show you any numbers or any names or anything else. It does have the company information on the side of the box here, and it does state that they are non-toxic, conform to EN71-3 standards, non-benzene or 8 kinds of heavy metal elements, conform to general standards for student supplies. They are an oily colored pencil. Okay, so they are oil-based. The colors are bright, good color, and with blending and layering effects. So they are an oil-based color pencil, so I would state that they are trying to replicate the same blend that the Faber Castells are, because the Faber Castells are a poly, which means oil. And I guess I could have read that right there, which I missed. But I will say that the wax in these, because all pencils have oil and wax, it just depends upon the levels of each of them. The wax in here is a softer wax than the wax in the Faber Castells. They are a 7.8 millimeter pencil with a 3.8 millimeter core. All right, guys. With that, yeah, that is the Zazing Queely stationary colored pencil set. There is our testing for them, as well as the swatch chart and the colored pencils themselves. Now, like I said, um, if you see them side by side like this, it's very uncanny on how close they are in color. If you look at their leads, they're very, very, very close in color. And my Faber Castell is splitting. My Faber Castells are splitting. I don't know why. Um, but if you look at the leads and the colors of the leads up against each other, they're practically the same. So, um, yeah. So are they a dupe of Faber Castell? I say they are a very close replication. Um, Duplication, no. They are different qualities, different pigmentations, that sort of thing. They do have the same numbers, the same colors, uh, coinciding with those numbers that the Faber Castells do. But they are not something that's going to replace your Faber Castells if you already own them. Unless you are running low on a color, you can supplement with them until you can buy a new set or a new pencil. They don't have open stock. However, the price range per pencil is so much nicer than the Faber Castells. And that price range that I had on there is a sale price that I have found recently. So that's the lowest price. So, yeah, what else can I say about them? They actually shocked me when I laid down all the colors on a Faber Castell Polychromo sheet and came up number for number, color for color. So that really surprised me. So I'm quite happy to have a secondary set that I can supplement when my smaller Faber Castells start to get to a point where I can't use them anymore. So yeah, would I recommend this set? Yes, I would. I would recommend this set. A, because of their quality. They do have a really good quality, a high pigmentation to the colors. B, they are very close replication to the Faber Castell Polychromos. And if you are on a fixed budget, but you want to follow along with somebody that's coloring with a Faber Castell, it allows you that ability without having to go through the hassle of trying to match color for color. Um, The pigmentation is really, really nice. They're a little bit softer than the Polychromos, so if you do purchase these and save up for Polychromos, know that these pencils are a little bit softer to lay down and a little bit softer to blend than the Faber Castell Polychromos are. So you may get a little bit of a culture shock going from these two Polychromos and vice versa. Um, yeah, other than that, uh, yeah, a very nice set of 120 colored pencils. Again, these are from China. The case doesn't have a name. On Amazon, the seller is listed as the brand. However, on the information for the manufacturer company here, it does have the stationery company that manufactures them. So that is the name that I have placed on my brand because there's just too many sellers out there that are listing these pencils as their own, and they're listing it as the seller being the manufacturer or the creator, and they are not. All right, guys, with that, I would like to say thank you all very much for watching. I hope this has been helpful. Again, I will list the link for the pencils as well as a link to the swatch chart that you can purchase on Coffee for $1. And like I said, the testing chart is on that I used on the back is also on the coffee shop. It is listed for free. So you can get this one as well as the free one and print them out yourself, fill them in, and have a full swatch chart numbered and named and in color order. So if you like my color order. If you don't like my color order, then you might be better off getting a blank chart that you can purchase off of my Patreon. All right, guys, with that, yeah, not a bad set of pencils. I'm quite impressed. And yeah, I would definitely recommend them, especially to somebody that would like to purchase a set of Polychromos but can't quite afford them right yet. Yeah, other than that, guys, thank you all very much for watching. Of course, always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artist that you enjoy. And of course, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Until next time, bye bye for now.